Is a rate just a rate? Is your shipper only looking for the lowest rate in every situation? What can you do to add value to your customer without just being the cheapest? Well, in this video, we'll cover strategies you can use to help your customer look good and earn more money for your brokerage. I'm Benjamin Kowalski with Freight 360, where we provide the latest transportation sales tips and training videos to help you reach your goals faster. So far, we've done videos on pricing to win loads versus pricing loads to cover them. We've covered how to use DAT to find average and current market rates. Well, in this video, we're going to dive into pricing strategies for existing customers and how you can add value in more ways than just providing a truck. One of the main pain points for a shipper, whether they admit it or not, is the constant fluctuations in the trucking spot rates. That is the rate they're gonna pay for a short-term lead, a need, like the truck they need today. A load that is either gonna pick up either today or in the next day or two. These are defined by shippers as a breakdown in their routing guides. And what is a routing guide? It's really just a fancy term that encompasses all of their lanes and all of their predicted rates they're gonna pay. These are the lanes that are usually awarded directly to asset carriers at lower than market rates. And why are some assets willing to run them for less than the very top of the market? Well, because in return for providing a fair rate, they are receiving predictable loads at predictable rates, high enough to cover their expenses and their profit requirements. And as a bonus, they have predictable loading and unloading times, since they're going to the same facilities for pickup and delivery every week. This is often why when you're just beginning to quote a prospect, somebody you've maybe spoken to one or two times, they're telling you that you're way above what they're constantly paying. It's because the shipper isn't really comparing apples to apples. You are looking at what it would cost you to get a truck in a much shorter time window than the pricing provided by the local asset company to your customer. This is why it's much more difficult to win your first few loads. The shipper also wants a discount from you as a broker. Why? Because they don't know you at all, and they're taking a gamble with you, the new broker with no track record with them personally. And for that risk, they want a little bit of a discount, right? So let's skip ahead a few months. And let's say you've moved a handful of loads at this point, but you still haven't really turned this shipper into a daily or a weekly customer, right? This is where our strategy can be utilized. Have you ever heard the term horse trading? What it means is a negotiation accompanied by shrewd bargaining and reciprocal concessions. Okay, it means that you're going to give something in return for something else. For instance, maybe your customer is asking you to move a load today for $200 less than you quoted it. And maybe your margin was only, we'll say $250 to begin with. Well, what can you do? Well, this is where you can offer to move the load at the discounted rate that they're asking you to move it for, if your customer is willing to provide you with another load you can also move later this week at maybe a better rate. The conversation is going to go something like this. Hey, look, I'll take a haircut on this load, Sally, but I really need to make up that loss later in the week. Would you be willing to send over maybe a couple other loads for me to maybe help make up that loss? Or this. Hey, do you happen to have something maybe a little easier for me to work on later this week to make up the loss for today? Maybe anything with possibly some more miles on it? Okay, so you'd be amazed at what you're gonna get in return to that question. Most shippers know exactly which loads are coveted, the ones that are the hardest to cover, and the ones with the lowest margins. And they typically hold on to their better loads for the brokers they've been working with the longest, and the ones that they have the most trusted relationships with, right? The ones that have gotten them out of a difficult situation in the past. This is the group we're working to be included in. There's also another reason why the strategy of horse trading is beneficial. Shippers don't just want trucks when they need them. They also want predictable rates. And often, your point of contact has a KPI, or a key performance indicator for how much they spend above budget on each lane. Meaning, for every dollar they spend above that budget on that specific lane, they get a slap in the wrist or a blemish on their work record, right? Because their job isn't to just book trucks and get them there on time. It's also to keep each lane within the, estimated budget for that quarter or that year. So when we take a loss on a load, it's very possible they can give you the margin you were looking for just in another load. Now, maybe you moved the first load for a loss, but for the week, the next 2 loads make up for it. And from the shipper's point of view, they also get rewarded because they kept each of their shipping lanes within their budget constraints. So the next time you're quoting a lane for your customer, take the time to pick up the phone and ask a few more questions. Don't be afraid to ask about additional loads they may have for today or later this week. More often than not, you'll be able to get another load or 2 in return for making your shipper's budget work on the lane they really need help with today. For more tips and training, be sure to watch our weekly podcast on our channel and check out the description for links to group and private coaching. Because remember, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.